Hey guys, Westy on the mic here.
All right, thanks for checking out this video. We are looking at part two of my throw-in tutorial. So I'm going to be showing you elevation throw-ins, so uphill and downhill. We'll do a few different holes of each just so I can kind of show you my principles, what I do. A few notes, I will miss several of these. I wasn't going to shoot these over and over just to show you clips of me making shortish throw-ins. So I'm more just showing you what I do. So if you're not really great at throw-ins, you know, at elevation, hopefully this helps you out. And a disclaimer, I don't think I'm great at these either. I'm constantly trying to get better. I feel like it's an area of my game that might be lacking a little bit. So if you have tips for me, I'd be happy to hear them. But I don't think I'm terrible at them either. So hopefully you can learn a little bit and yeah, definitely let me know if you did learn something or if you have some tips for me. But my main principle on uphill is I will put the bottom chevron, the tip of it, right at the top right corner of the basket. So on that first hole, it was about 5 to 10 feet away, or sorry, 5 to 10 feet of elevation. So if that's what it is, and that's a standard grade in this game, is kind of 5 to 10 feet of elevation at about 80 feet. Basically, you can aim at the top of the basket and use about your regular power point. So that's what I'm doing here. It's about 80 feet. I just aimed at the top of the basket, and look at that magic. It's basically like it was flat ground, same power. So here we have 85 feet, and I'm thinking it's about the same, at about this distance. It's, this normal grade, 5 to 10 feet of elevation. And I'm going to put about 85 feet of power, which is just under the top of the band there, and boom, we're in. So just showing you a few different examples here. I'm going to show different holes, different distances. I have this one, and then I think one more uphill, and then I'll get into the downhill side. So looking at this, 87 feet, about the same elevation change, and I'm going to be putting it probably right about the middle of the band there. Yep, that should be about perfect. I think I should ease up a little bit. And there we go. It was a little bit high, but snuck it in. And that's just to show you these first couple holes are two that you end up having throw-ins at this distance quite often, and they're always going to be at an elevation change like this. So again, I take the tip of that bottom chevron and I'm going to move it up to the top right corner of the basket here. And so this is 93 feet, and I'm still going to put about the normal power for 93 feet here right at the bottom of that top band, and just kind of let the elevation and let the my adjusted aim point just will it in naturally. So this is a hole, it's one of the steepest uphill grades in the game. If you end up rolling back here or something on your drive, it can be a huge pain to have to try to make one of these throw-ins. And on this one, I'll do the same. I'll aim at the top of the basket, but then I'll put an extra 15 to 20 feet on that. So 76 feet, but I probably put, 95 feet of power on that. And that's the bottom of that top Wi-Fi band. If you are wondering what my different power metrics are, go to my first video in my putting or my throwing tutorial, and that'll show you. But for now, I'll just keep talking about them. So here's 83 feet of power, which would be about there-ish. But I'm thinking I need an extra 15 to 20 feet of power. That's maybe not quite enough. Nope, that ended up being just quite enough. So that's probably more on the 15 feet of elevation change side. So now 107 feet back, I'm thinking this is probably 15 to 20 feet of elevation change at least. You know what? Sorry, it was 15 and 80. I'm thinking this is probably 25 to 30 at least. So let's check here because we just kept getting further back and we keep going further downhill. So 107 feet, I'm thinking I probably need at least 130 feet on this to have a chance of making it. And I'm putting about 120, 125 on it right here. So as you can see, I'm going to be short. So I'm just going to show you, the next couple adjustments I make until I end up getting in the hole or it gives me a tap in. So here I'm readjusting my aim point and I'm putting it closer to 135, 140-ish, and it's still short. So it's just an incredible uphill grade, and sometimes you will roll back here. Generally you won't. I recommend watching Aaron Christensen's video to see a great play for how to get really close or even have a chance at an ace, but sometimes you will roll back here. So 107 feet, there I gave it about 145, 150 feet of power, and it was finally enough to get it in the basket. Switching gears now to downhill. So elevation change, we're going down the grade. I'm thinking this is about 5 to 10 feet of power, so 88 feet. Default aim point, that's where I would have been normally at 88 feet, but since it's downhill, I'm taking about 10 feet off, and that was, what I would normally throw if it was 78 feet. So just making those adjustments. And here we go, 99 feet. So moving to my normal aim point. And the 99 feet, normally would put it about there. So I should ease up a little bit, right? I don't know what I'm thinking, guys, because I did not move the. Okay, there I'm finally moving it down a little bit, but not enough. That was still probably 95 feet of power that I did there. So as you can see, I mean, it's just very, very touchy, these misses, and it's a fun element of the game. It just adds some difficulty, and we're just showing you my way of taking on that difficulty. So there we go, made the adjustment. That was probably about 85 feet of power, maybe 85 to 90. So good adjustment there. Here's 110 feet, so putting it in my spot. And then watch for about 95 to 100 feet of power that I put on this. So I'm going to keep moving this up. It's about 95 feet right there. And boom. So at 100 feet, that's probably 10 to 12 feet of elevation change, and that was 110. So you're just going to need to kind of get used to all these holes and know what a standard grade is and how much elevation change, both up and downhill, you're going to need to put on these different shots. Here we go, 103 feet. This is a spot you often land, even with the good drive on this hole. So 103 feet, I aimed a little bit hard there. I probably still put 95 on it, just didn't drop it enough. So 106, about the same thing. I'm going to aim in my normal spot again. So yeah, just get that in the right spot. 106 feet here. And I should probably give it what, like 95 feet max of power, maybe a little bit less, so that's 95, getting closer to 90. It's right between 90 and 95 at that spot. And yep, all right, in the basket, so that's a little better. And here we'll go a little bit further back, another classic spot to land. Not an easy make to get, but you definitely feel like you should sometimes, especially if you're playing a competitive level. And here we go. 141 feet, so we'll see what I do. So that's about my normal pullback for 140, maybe a little bit less than that already. And we'll see where I end up settling on. I'm probably moving it about 15 feet short of what my normal throw in would be there. And it was a pretty good throw in, but left it high in the chains, and unfortunately it got spit out, as sometimes happens. So here we go. This is another hole where you classically have a throw in like this. Even a great drive is at the top of the ledge. So 117 feet. I'm thinking about 30, 40 feet of elevation drop there. I'm putting probably 75 feet of power. And I maybe put just a little, or just not quite enough. And I ended up being short and getting a weird bounce out of the basket. Here's 121 feet, so pretty similar. And this one I'm going to say probably about 30, 40 feet of drop again. So 90 would be at the bottom of that top line. So here, yep, so that's about 90. So here's about 80. And we'll see if this can sneak in. That would have been high, and I left it left. So weird one there, but as you can see, it's a solid 40 feet of drop from up here. So here we'll just try maybe a little bit further right this time. And I put about 75 to 80 feet there. Still not enough. I know this is tough to watch, but I'm just showing you this is a tricky one. If you don't feel confident when you line up this putt, just don't take it. Lay it up and take your birdie instead. It's not worth missing it and going through the fence. There we go. Finally got it. Put the right amount of power on it. And you're just going to want to, play around with these, get used to all the different distances on these holes. I kind of have a spot in my mind from, anywhere 100, 110, 120, 130, 140 feet. 140 feet back is the furthest back I like to go and be comfortable here. One note too, when you have a ledge you have to throw over like this, sometimes you have to throw at the top of the basket. So that's what I'm doing here. And then you got to take even a little bit more extra off. So 125 feet. I just want to get reset. So again, I'm aiming at the top of the basket. It's a little bit tricky. And just wanted to take a breath. I'm putting about 80 to 85. So 45 feet of drop is what I calculated there. And that's what it took to get that in. So anyway, thanks for sticking with me. Let me know if you have any tips or questions, any thoughts on the video. Uh, in my next throw-in tutorial video, I'm going to be looking at how the wind impacts throw-ins and how you go about combating that. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.